Futurama Recap, S11E04, Parasites Regained. Posted by Avery Kaplan August 13, 2023. Animation, recaps and reviews, science fiction, TV and streaming. 0. The Planet Express crew finds themselves crawling with parasitic worms again in Futurama Season 11 Episode 4. Parasites Regained was written by Mia Williams and directed by Corey Barnes. Related, read our recap of the previous episode, How the West Was 101-0001. Photos, Matt Groening / Hulu. Nibbler, Frank Welker, and Turain Galila, Katie Segal, arrive at the new New York Central Park Scoopy Poo Dog Park tube station. As she walks Nibbler around, he eats a Yale Law alumni and his dog. Later, Bender Bending Rodriguez, John DiMaggio, and Philip J. Fry, Billy West, are watching Linda, Tress MacNeil, and Morbo, Maurice LaMarche, on TV in the Planet Express building break room. Nibbler and Leela enter, and Nibbler hurries into his litter box. Leela explains that Nibbler prefers his litter box, which contains sand with essential minerals from his home world. Fry isn't interested in seeing the new subtitled movie Quizblorg 1, winner of the Palma d'Or Knob. But once remembers Nibbler can talk, the duo head to the Lahu Zero-plex movie theater. Laughter, the subtitle says in Alineset, and the audience sobs. Sorrow, says the next subtitle, and the audience laughs. Later, Nibbler and Leela discuss the film over tea at the cafe across the street from the Plan X building, as previously seen in Season 3's Parasites Lost. And Kirk thinks 3D chess is hard. At Leela's apartment, Nibbler helps Leela complete an answer for her three-dimensional crossword puzzle. She declares him her BFF, best furry friend. Nibbler throws up a hairball with the Yale Law guy's hat, but then falls off the table. Leela decides they should visit the vet. Parasites Regained. At the animal clinic, see also, Season 2's I Second That Emotion, Vet Jeffrey Grant, David Herman, diagnoses Nibbler with worms. He informs Leela that without treatment, the worms will attack his brain and leave Nibbler with the IQ of a Boston Terrier. Fortunately, Nibbler can be cured with the powerful dewormer ivermectin. Back in the Plan X building break room, Leela convinces Nibbler to take his pills by hiding them in cheese. Maybe Gouda, or a nice brie, Nibbler says excitedly. But in spite of the medicine, Nibbler isn't interested in a game of quantum wordle, instead preferring tic-tac-toe with Fry. Leela suggests Nibbler take more medicine and offers him some manchego. But to Leela's horror, Nibbler requests a slice of American. Related, 10 Star Trek references on Futurama. Nibbler wonders why he's still losing his intelligence in spite of taking his pills. Professor Hubert J. Farnsworth, West, enters with some sad news. He informs them that while the medicine kills the worms in his body, the ones in his litter box reinfect him every time he uses it. But Leela protests that he needs the ancestral litter to survive. Farnsworth says the only course of action is to shrink down and face the worms personally. Amy Wong, Lauren Tom, says that sounds gross. John Swaberg, West, says at least it's simple. Farnsworth says he's wrong. Soon, Farnsworth is demonstrated his complicated shrinking ray to the Plan X crew. He demonstrates by shrinking the Planet Express ship to toy size. Nibbler immediately begins gnawing on it. Farnsworth explains to the crew that they'll use water guns filled with liquid ivermectin to kill the worms. In order to enter the litter box, they'll travel inside a toy tank Farnsworth enlarged with his enlarging ray. The litter box. Fry, Leela, Bender, and Zwaberg get in the tank and Farnsworth instructs Amy to shove it. As the tank rolls down the track that came with the tank, Farnsworth fires the shrink ray wildly. The consequences include shrinking the manage of Hermes Conrad, Phil Lemmer. Eventually, Farnsworth hits the tank. It shrinks before traveling a burning hoop and landing in the litter box. El viaje misterioso de nuestro Zwaberg. Farnsworth tells them not to leave the tank, as it is the only protection against the desert-like conditions of the litter box. However, they are forced to leave almost immediately as the tank sinks. Leela says Nibbler is counting on them. Zwaberg concludes they'll need litter box food. Fry wonders if they could eat those weird pygmy hyena moles. He attempts to grab one but it bites him and burrows away. Zwaberg inhales the orange sparklies that result. This triggers a hallucinogenic state. Related, Geek Girl Authority Crush of the Week, Amy Wong. The Plan X team is confronted by a cotter of dung beetles, pronounced like Dune, the G is almost silent. Leela, Zwaberg and Bender nearly fire their squirt guns at them. But Fry is too busy peeing. The queen of the beetles, Yhcnbhduhvnb, thanks him for his gift of moisture. Leela explains they're searching for the worms in order to exterminate them. The queen explains that the worms are also their enemies. One of the soldiers notes that the ancient prophecy speaks of a messiah. He points to Fry and asks, could he be the Quiznos Cadillac? The queen consults an ancient tome as Fry zips up his pants. Nope, she concludes. However, she invites them to join her in the Hall of Dung. The Hall of Dung. In the Hall of Dung, the queen explains that the worms congregate near the Great Sphere, Niblis dark matter turd. However, almost every path ends in death. In order to help them navigate, the queen will enter the glitter chamber, which allows her to see all realities simultaneously. The queen says only shaman can use the chamber, lest the user experience a medical-grade freakout. Nibbler in the cone of shame. In the Plan X break room, Farnsworth trips over the chewed-up Plan X ship and comes face to face with Nibbler. Nibbler is chewing on Farnsworth's slipper. Farnsworth reclaims it but finds it ruined. Nibbler blames the worms. Hermes puts him in the cone of shame against his protests. Nibbler sobs from within the cone. Related, here's why we must save Star Trek, Prodigy. In the Hall of Dung, the queen emerges with knowledge of the path they must take, and a serious craving for Betty Cockroach brand pink frosting. The queen tells the Plan X crew how to navigate the mounds of litter. The crew declines the use of the Roachthopter, wise choice. The queen assigns them their second best guide, Bilger. As they travel, Bilger advises them that the worms are attracted to the sound of dung beetle footsteps, so don't walk like a dung beetle. Bilger points out life thriving in the litter box environment. This includes the Vanapus fungus and the hairless sand pigeon. The Plan X crew is disgusted. However, Zwaberg finds some microscopic crabs on the fungus he believes are cute. The final expanse. Bilger pauses to pay his respects at the grave of the best guide. Then he activates a pounder, which simulates beetle footsteps to serve as a distraction for the worms. Bender notes his grandfather was a pounder and observes that this makes him a quarter pounder. Suddenly Bilger is attacked and eaten by a giant sandworm. The Plan X crew screams and flees. After falling off a cliff, Leela hallucinates from inhaling the dust. She foresees a sandstorm before it is caused by Nibbler's use of the box. A quarter pounder hams it up, with cheese. The Plan X crew laments that they'll never reach their destination. But that's when they finally reach the turd. They arm their squirt guns. Fry says that they no longer have the pounder. However, quarter pounder Bender fills in by tap dancing, see also Season 10's Stench and Stenchability. The giant worm is revealed to be the swarm of worms that infested Fry in Parasites Lost. Related, 10 more Star Trek references on Futurama. Leela proposes the worms inhabit Zwaberg instead of Nibbler. They decline and a battle between the worms and the Plan X crew ensues. This kicks up a cloud of hallucinogenic dust that draws Nibbler's attention. He shrinks down and uses his Nibblonian ship to enter the litter box. The Queen arrives and identifies Nibbler as their messiah. The picture in the book looks almost just like him. Nibbler laments that he lacks the time to properly appreciate the litter box ecosystem. He waxes poetic on how the various life forms that inhabit it live in harmony and rely on one another. Nibbler surrenders, saying how he will play his part by allowing the worms to eat his brain. The final stage. The Plan X crew returns to regular size and escapes the litter box via Nibbler's ship. Leela begs Nibbler not to allow the worms to eat his consciousness. However, Nibbler's intellectual capacity continues to diminish. Later, Leela laments that she can't open her mind to the beauty of which Nibbler spoke. Using the shrunken Nibblernaut Plan X ship, Leela, Fry and Bender return to the Hall of Dung. Mites of the Round Table. Leela begs the Queen to allow her to use the glitter chamber. The Queen warns about possible side effects, but the Plan X crew insists. Soon Leela is hallucinating, and witnessing the imagery described by Nibbler. Leela emerges from the chamber and declares she sees the way. She continues that Nibbler was right about everything. However, she says he overlooked one thing. The worms should be making him smarter, as they did when Fry was inhabited by them. Related, Geek Girl Authority Crush of the Week, to Rainga Leela. The Worm King asks why they aren't making Nibbler smarter. Leela reveals that they have been weakened. They're infested by the same sub-parasites that Swaberg declared cute earlier. In fact, Swaberg is feeling on worm juice alongside the mites as Leela reveals them to the worms. Leela says, there are levels within levels within levels. But that's too many levels. We've got to kill those mites. Tuppa. Fry asks about the sanctity of life. Leela says the line must be drawn somewhere. Stomp those suckers, declares Leela. Kill them all. After brushing themselves free of mites, the worms join the Plan X crew and beetles in smashing the mites. Plan X, home again. Back in the Plan X break room, Leela says Nibbler will be okay as Nibbler chews on a Bart Simpson chew toy. Fry asks if Leela's senses got scrambled from being in the glitter chamber. A POV shot reveals she perceives Fry to be an insect. But she says, it's fine. Oh, Nigglesnish. In bed, Nibbler communicates with the Nibblonian High Council and updates them on the events of the episode. Then he runs to the kitchen and climbs into Leela's lap. Related, read all of our Futurama recaps here. New episodes of Futurama are available for streaming Mondays on Hulu. Author. Recent posts. Avery Kaplan is the author of several books and the features editor at Comic Speed. She was honored to serve as a judge for the 2021 Cartoonist Studio Prize Award and the 2021 Prism Awards. She lives in the mountains of Southern California with her partner and a pile of cats, and her favorite place to visit is the cemetery. You can also find her writing on comics bookcase, Neotext, Shelf Dust, The Mary Sue, StarTrek.com, in many issues of Panel, and in the margins of the books in her personal library. Related. Plan X shippers rejoice. New Futurama Season 11 trailer confirms Freela. June 27, 2023. In animation. Hulu reveals release date for Futurama Season 11. May 18, 2023. In animation. 10 Star Trek references on Futurama, Part 2. July 6, Futurama Season 11 Episode 4, Dune Easter Eggs, Explained. Hulu's Futurama is a revival of the iconic animated comedy series that follows the misadventures of Philip J. Fry, a delivery boy for Pent Express. The fourth episode of the 11th season, or the 8th production season, titled Parasites Regained, follows Fry and Leela as they undertake a dangerous mission to save the latter's pet, Nibbler, from losing his intellect. The episode is a homage to Dune, one of the most popular science fiction tales known for its pop culture resonance. If you are looking for the Dune referenced in Futurama Season 11, Episode 4, here are all the ones we could spot. Spoilers ahead. Futurama Season 11 Episode 4 Recap. The fourth episode is titled Parasites Regained, which references the John Milton poem Paradise Regained. The episode also serves as a spiritual successor to Parasites Lost. The second episode of Futurama Season 3, also titled after a John Milton poem. Parasites Regained follows Leela and the Planet Express crew as they deal with Nibbler's sudden intellectual decline. It is revealed that Nibbler has contracted parasites that are feeding on his brain. The parasites reside within Nibbler's sandbox and continually infect him, forcing Leela and the crew to shrink down and travel to the sandbox. Leela and the crew meet the Duneg beetles, who guide them to the sandworms. However, Leela and the crew abandon the mission when Nibbler accepts his place in the sandbox's intricate ecosystem. Leela discovers that smaller parasites have infected the sandworms, and the crew kills the creatures, restoring Nibbler's intellect. Futurama Season 11 Episode 4 Dune References. The fourth episode serves as a parody of Dune, a series of epic science fiction novels by author Frank Herbert. The first book in the series was adapted into a film directed by David Lynch and released in 1984. The book was more recently adapted for the screen by director Denis Villeneuve and divided into two parts, the first of which was released in 2021. Most of the books take place on the desert planet of Arrakis, similar to the sand world the crew visits in the episode of Futurama. In the episode, the dung beetles explain that their name is pronounced as Dune, with a silent G. The species is a reference to the Fremen, who are the primary residents of Arrakis in the source material. The beetles also rely on the litter dust as a means to protect themselves and harness mystical powers. The litter dust is based on the spice, also known as melange, from the books, found in abundance on Arrakis. The sandworms are the primary antagonists of the episode, and they are based on the giant sandworms from the books. The background score used during the crew's interactions with the dung beetles is reminiscent of Hans Zimmer's score for 2021's Dune. The episode also portrays Nibbler as the messianic figure referenced in the prophecy of the Sand World, which is also a major plot point in the source material as the prophecy is directly tied to the story of protagonist Paul Atreides. Like Paul, Nibbler figuring out his place in the grand scheme of things is the episode's primary theme. Lastly, actor Kyle MacLachlan, known for his role as Paul Atreides in 1984's Dune, guest stars in the episode as the voice of one of the creatures in the Sand World. Read more. Are Fry and Leela together in Futurama 2023?